Aloha, this is Wahkeena Sitka coming to you to share another mind-expanding visionary story. Yes, it's true. So, I have a whole lot of visionary stories that I would like to share, but there are a few of them that really stand out. And since I'm just beginning with my visionary story sharing, there's one that I'm just gonna go for it. This is quite a story, so please listen to this whole video till the very end because this one is worth the time. So, I had just moved to Portland, Oregon, in like July of 2003. So I think it was October of 2003, just a few months later. Right, I was brand new, maybe even November. I was brand new to Portland at that time. And I was also brand new to the West Coast because I had just moved to Oregon from the Midwest. I had migrated from Michigan. And I settled down in Portland. I totally fell in love with the city. And I had also just discovered the West Coast festival culture. Up to that point, I didn't know that electronic music existed. I didn't know that festival culture existed. It was all brand new to me. And all I had experienced up to that point was the Rainbow Gathering. And that was pretty mind-blowing and powerful and transformational for me. And so the Rainbow Gathering is one of the things that kind of pulled me to the West Coast and encouraged me on my current trajectory. But when I when I first came to Oregon, I immediately arrived at this festival at Horning's Hideout and discovered this band called Hamsa Lila. Many of you may know of Hamsa Lila. They were kind of a famous touring band that played shows all up and down the West Coast and all over the country, etc. And dear friends and beautiful family and super amazing musicians. Unfortunately, they don't tour anymore. So I had fallen in love with Hamsa Lila, and I was really excited about them. And so a few months later, they came and did a gig at the Fez Ballroom in downtown Portland. And I was also relatively new at this point to psychedelics. At this point, I'd probably only had like maybe 4 or 5 or 6 psychedelic experiences. So I was still breaking new ground. I had some pretty major experiences that were pretty mind-blowing, but I was still breaking new ground, and I was really just beginning my whole foray into psychedelics and visionary experiences. And so before going to the show, I had gone to a friend's house and acquired an 1/8 of mushrooms. And I showed up at the show with an 1/8 of mushrooms, which is a lot of mushrooms. And right when the show began, I was just like, I went straight for it, basically. I went to the bathroom and probably ate like half of the 1/8. And I was like, super pumped to just rage it. I was gonna just dance my ass off and totally have this like ecstatic experience, and I was super excited about it. So I went to the dance floor and started dancing, and probably no more than like 20 minutes passed, and I was just like, where's the mushrooms? Come on! I wanted to like fucking explode. I had so much energy. I was just like, I wanted to like explode with ecstasy. And so I was getting impatient. So I went back to the bathroom and finished the rest of the 1/8. So I ate an entire 1/8 of mushrooms at this party. And I don't think that I've ever done that again since this experience. And frankly, I don't think I ever did that before that experience. I'm pretty sure that this experience was the only time in my entire life that I ever went for the quote heroic dose. And I told them it was pretty full on. So basically, I went back out to the dance floor and I'm like, woohoo! And started like dancing and like getting all like ecstatic and like, woo! You know, I wanted to go into like an otherworldly, ecstatic, shamanic, transcendental experience and like have my mind blown. I was like full. I was like ready to rage it. And pretty much the first thing that happened, I'm like dancing, and then I go to the side of the room and all of a sudden this big, huge fairy descended from the sky. Just massive fairy. It was like a pink fairy with like purple or blue wings. It just descended from the sky and hovered right in front of me, and I'm just like, whoa, big cosmic fairy. And the first thing that she did, she basically was like, hello! And she gave me a gift of a vision of one of my dear beloveds that was on the other side of the country that I couldn't be with in person, in flesh, but somebody that I was deeply in love with, one of my best friends. And so she gave me this like, it was literally almost like a holographic experience of seeing my best friend. It was almost like she was in the flesh with me. And I was like ecstatic to see her, and it was like I ran up to my friend and like hugged her, even though I'm like just, you know, hugging myself, but I was like hugging my friend. And then pretty much like right from that moment, I went into the astral plane. And it felt like what I felt like was that I was like a cannonball that was getting ejected out of a cannon at lightning speed. It was like being on a roller coaster, except there was no going down. It was just going straight up, 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 up. I felt like I was exploding through the roof. And there was all of these, like, I had all these visions of these, like, signs and, like, you know, message. It was all, like, everybody, with all the messages and signs were like, stop! No! Don't go any further! Whatever you do! Don't go beyond this point! Don't go any further! And I was just like, I don't fucking care! Boom! And I was just, like, careening into the heavens. I just went straight for, like, you know, the celestial realm. Pretty much, right at that moment, I was like, I'm going to go sit on this couch over there. I sat on that couch, and that was probably like, you know, 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. or something. I did not get off that couch until like 4:30. So I was pretty much like planted in one spot for the remainder of the predominant remainder of the rest of the journey. Basically, what I experienced from that moment on was I went to the celestial realm. I was in a full-on astral, celestial, otherworldly, out-of-body realm. The planet Earth didn't exist. My ego identity did not exist. My body did not exist. Nothing existed. I was in the stars. I was in the galactic consciousness, and I was surrounded by like all of these deities, all of these gods and goddesses, and they were fornicating. They were having a fucking orgy. They were copulating like the tantric temples in India, you know, those like Hindu god and goddess temples with all of these like, you know, people just like writhing all the temples like fucking. It was like that, except it was multi-dimensional, real, and super psychedelic. And like it was like being surrounded by like an orgy of deities, gods and goddesses, fucking their brains out. And it was so hot. It was so hot. And basically what I was getting a personal transmission. I was getting a personal download from up there about Tantra. We can go into the whole Tantra subject later. But I was getting my whole like tantric download. And essentially what I was getting, the main thing that I got out of that experience was about union with God, union with the divine, union with Source. Because in that intense, mind-blown sexual orgy, basically what I was experiencing was union with God. I immediately, basically right upon arrival there, I was just like went straight for like whatever the nearest God was, and basically it was just like sexual energy was just circulating through me like non-stop. Like I felt like I was fucking forever. It was so sexual and it was so hot. But aside from like the intense, super sexual energy, my mind was getting shattered. Like my ego mind, my all aspects of that, like, you know, conditioned mind were just getting obliterated, and I was just in this total state of complete ecstasy because I was merging with God. I was having sex with God. I mean, who wouldn't want to have sex with God? I was like merging with the ultimate. Merging with God. I mean, basically, I never wanted it to end. And I pretty much, at the moment, during the experience that was happening, I was pretty much completely convinced that I was going to be merging in union with God forever. I was pretty much like completely over Earth. In fact, I was like, the whole notion that I would even come back to my body, it didn't even register. And frankly, I could have stayed there forever and like never come back to my body, and I could have just been like, bye, I'm out. And I would have been happy because I was like, really, I felt pretty much like permanently in my like perfect state of bliss. It was amazing. So basically I'm just merging with God for like forever with all of this ecstatic sexual energy. And about 4 in the morning, one of the security guards, actually before the security guard came up to me, Sasha Butterfly, also known as Sasha Rose, who was performing with Hamsa Lila at that time, she came up to me. Unbeknownst to me, I should say, from the physical external realm, what I looked like was somebody who had not moved from the sofa for about, 5 or 6 hours. I had not moved at all. I hadn't even opened my eyes. I was pretty much just gone. The show had ended. Everybody was gone. The band was packing up all of their stuff. They were kind of waiting for me to come down so that they could have me leave. They had no idea how high I was. And I apparently, so I was told, I had peed all over the couch. Like, it was soaked. I had just completely vacated my body, just peed everywhere. And nobody was able to communicate with me. I was not responding to anything that anybody was saying. I was out. I was gone. I was in another world. This world did not exist. And so, basically, I couldn't have cared less. So, Sasha Rose Butterfly comes up to me and she's basically trying to give me my bag. She's like, here's your magical bag! Here's your magical slippers! Here's your magical cloak! Don't you want your magical things? And I'm looking at her like, you silly, stupid, ignorant human. How could you possibly even be... If only you knew I'm merging with God. I don't fucking care about anything. Those things mean nothing to me. Nothing. So basically, I looked at her and I was just like, whatever, rolled my eyes, and I was just like, I'm meditating on God. Then, one of the security guards for the Fez Ballroom comes up to me, and he's looking at me, and he's like, if you don't get up now and leave, then we're going to have you arrested and taken to the drunk tank. I'm going to call the cops on you, like, now, if you do not get up and leave. And my immediate thought was, oh my God, this is Satan. This is the devil trying to tempt me out of union with God. Basically, my response was, I don't fucking think so. You are insane. I am not falling for your bullshit. But it did kind of like wake me up enough, so I got up, I got off the couch, and I walked over to the window, and I looked out the window and I said to myself, you know what, time, space, this is like a fucking joke, I can do whatever I want. I literally tried to walk through the window and fly. I really truly was like at that point where I would have walked, I thought I would fly if I just walked off. That did not work. I bumped right into the window. And so I walked over to the wall, and I'm looking at the brick wall, and I'm just like, I can walk through this. It's a dream. It's not real. So I walked into the wall and did not walk through it. Moments later, the police arrived and handcuffed me and dragged me out of the building and put me into their police car. As I was being taken out of the police car, I am pretty much like, they having to carry me because I'm doing like yoga poses upside down while they're dragging me out. I'm not lying. And they put me into the back of the police car, and as I got into the police car, I literally felt like I was having the most amazing experience of my entire life. I was completely ecstatic. I just completely felt like, this is it. This is the best experience of my entire life. I went to the drunk tank. They took me to the drunk tank and put me in this little cell, and it was just a tiny little cell with a toilet. And it was just, you know, cement brick walls, and I'm looking around this thing, and I'm just pretty much like out of my brains, completely ecstatic. And I just didn't really even care where I was, to be quite honest, because I was so high. I just started singing my ass off. I am just singing ecstatically, just like singing, so much joy. I was overjoyed. I was like overflowing with ecstasy. And one of the police officers came and walked up to the door, and he looked at me, and he was just like, "You're really happy, aren't you?" And I was just like, "You have no idea!" And a few minutes later, another one of the police officers walked up to the door, and she looked at me and she's like, "So, what did you take? Did you take mushrooms?" And I looked at her and I was like, I honestly could not even remember taking something. The experience had totally taken over me to the point where the fact that I had taken mushrooms several hours earlier, that memory didn't even exist. I was so high. I couldn't remember that I had taken something to elicit that. Basically, I looked at her and I was like, I'm on God. I'm like, I don't know about these mushrooms. I was like, that kind of rings a bell, but like, I'm not. I don't know. I'm on God. And so, basically, after that point, I started to realize that being in the presence of the police and being in like a little cell pretty much sucked. And I was like, I don't want to fucking do this. I'm getting the hell out of here. And so I decided, okay, well now I have to figure out how to make myself normal so that I can get let out of here. I was like, okay, I have to come down and get normal so that I can go home, because I'm like, okay, I've had my fun. I've sang ecstatically in the police cell, and now I'm ready to go home. So I made myself sober, at least appear sober, and I was still pretty like out. I mean, this is like 7 in the morning at this point. Like literally, I was like, it was like 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and I finally was like, you know what? I'm ready to get out of here, and I'd like to go home now. And they're like, okay, we'll call you a cab. Got in the cab, they gave me my belongings. I was like, oh, thank you for getting my stuff, because I wouldn't have remembered to get it. And got in the cab and went home and walked into my house and went straight to bed. Took one hit off of a bowl. Yes, I smoked pot back then too. Took one hit off a bowl and went careening back into like full-blown otherworldly cosmic psychedelic mushroom high journey for like the next 4 or 5 hours. I woke up at like 12 or 12:30 and I was finally like down, and I was just laughing hysterically. I couldn't even believe what had happened to me. And there you have it. That's probably my most entertaining and that's one of my favorite psychedelic stories ever. So there you go. This is Wahkeena Sitka sharing visionary story with you. I hope that you enjoyed it, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please like me on Facebook. Sign up for my newsletter, because I'm going to be sending stuff out. Get some music, get some downloads, share the story, share the videos, and activate! Activate!